Hello, welcome. We're going to give people just a couple of seconds to get logged in to make sure they can get the webinar launched here, and we will get started in a very few seconds. So hang on with us for just a moment. Make sure they can get that done. All right, well, let's get started and welcome again. My name is Ted Shirk. I am a solutions engineer here at Field Nation. Welcome to How It Works, a deeper dive into on-demand labor with Field Nation. There's a little bit about me. I come from a varied background, but I am, again, a solutions engineer. And what do I do as a solutions engineer? Well, I help our customers be successful in using the platform through product training, continuing education as the platform updates, as well as implementation of best practices and what to use on the platform. What we're going to be covering today is we are going to talk about what is Field Nation. We are going to introduce you to MarketSmart Insights, the flagship feature on the platform, and how it's going to help you plan your work. We're going to talk about how to create and manage work on the platform. And finally, how to find those providers and make sure that you are selecting the right one for your work. To start with, what is Field Nation? Well, Field Nation, we are the bridge. We allow your company to connect to and execute work on our platform through our massive online marketplace of contingent labor or on-demand labor. On-demand labor is what we do, and we've been doing it for 15 years. We are focused in the IT field services space, and a huge differentiator for us is this, because most other platforms are simply broad-based contractor networks. Why do we specialize in this area? Well, because there are currently over 40,000 field service technician jobs posted in the US. Does it work? Over 1 million work orders a year get completed through our platform across over 20 types of work. We have more than 50,000 active technicians on the platform, with hundreds more joining every week. All of this at over a 98% success rate. Now, we understand platform labor is still a new model to a lot of you, and that's why we have the dedicated support teams to help you along the way. We have a robust implementation and onboarding process that's customized to your team, your needs, as well as your timelines. You will have dedicated one-on-one support, a name with a face. Now, before we get started taking a look at the platform, we would like to know what led you here. So we've got a quick poll. So if you would take a quick few seconds to help us out with what brought you here, we greatly appreciate it. What the poll is all about is taking a look at what we call the cost, quality, time squeeze conundrum that all field service entities are facing. How do we get that high quality? How do we get it at the right cost? And how do we get it done quickly? All right, well, let's take a look at the platform. Appreciate you on that. So here is how Field Nation is going to help you do more and do it quickly. This is MarketSmart Insights. Before we get started on what is MarketSmart Insights, I'm going to tell you a couple of terms that I'm going to be using quite often today during our presentation. The first is that of a buyer. The buyer is the person or company purchasing services from the marketplace. The buyer is in control of the entire process as well as the outcomes. The buyer takes care of the scheduling, the assigning, the creating, as well as the approving of the work. The provider or technician, this is the independent contractor or service company performing the work. This is the group of over 50,000 independent contractors and service company employees to choose from. So MarketSmart Insights that we're looking at here, again, is the flagship feature of the platform. This is going to help you plan your work. Now, it's got a new look because we have 7 select tech networks to choose from. These select tech networks help you find those providers with the right skills to complete your work, who have a proven track record in completing that work, are highly rated, as well as active on the platform. All right, so let's take a look at this MarketSmart Insights. This is going to help us talk about coverage and pricing for your upcoming work. Now, it is not 100% necessary to use MarketSmart Insights to be able to create work orders, but can often be helpful. And where it's helpful and why it's helpful is it's going to allow you to bid more competitively, confidently. It's going to help you protect your margins. It's going to help you access a highly localized pay rate as well as achieve a higher fulfillment rate. So we are going to take a look at the marketplace providers in the Pro AV digital signage space across the United States. We're looking at a project that is going to have someone upgrade digital menu boards. We'll say at McDonald's. I just saw a commercial the other day for, they still got the Shamrock Shake around. And every year they bring that back around St. Patrick's Day. So we need to update those. So we're going to search nationwide for that Pro AV digital signage type work. And what we're given is we are given a dashboard that is calling out all of the work that has taken place on the Field Nation platform over the last 12 months in this filter set, which happens to be Pro AV digital signage. We have almost 3,900 providers who have accomplished over 17,000 work orders at an average pay rate of $65.63. Now we can see based on the map, which is ultimately a heat map, is calling out where those providers are located. Now, this is all great information. I can add to it by adding filters of making it more recent, honing in on the radius, taking a look at some of the keywords that were involved with the work order. Is there a particular menu board? Other filters that are going to tell us more about our individual providers so that we can hone in on that exact provider that we're going to want, the exact type of provider, knowing how many of them are available. Now, the really great feature about this platform is our ability to go ahead and choose a specific project set of sites. So we are going to choose from a site list that I have already uploaded that calls out 87 sites in the Northeast. Got 87 locations here in the Northeast, which are called up by these green spaces. I know the green and the purple are a little bit close in color. What we're showing on the map here is the 605 providers who have accomplished over 3,200 work orders at an average pay rate of $68.66 within 60 miles of one of these locations. Now, the first thing that you're going to say is the first thing I said as well was, what are these folks out here doing showing up on our list? Well, providers do travel. Provider from California was home back east to visit family on vacation, picked up a work order while they were there that actually matched the filter set. Absolutely, they could have accomplished it. They're going to show up in the data. Now, what am I going to do with this data? I am going to go ahead and export this data because it's going to give me site-specific information. So if I take a look at that data, for that export, it's going to show me that the pricing to get that work done in the Albany, New York area is going to cost me, on average, again, over the course of the last 12 months, has been about $78.40 per hour. As opposed to the Clay or Syracuse area, it's only $56.54. Think of the margin pickup that you'll be able to gain in the Syracuse area. Might cost you a little bit more than you anticipated here, but effectively, efficiently manage that work, getting that done by taking a look at that individual pricing. Well, now that we know we've got ample coverage and technicians available, let's take a look at how we're going to get a work order ready for the platform. Work orders get to the platform in three ways. They can be done in bulk, they can be done quickly. Work orders come to the platform via integration with an existing ticketing system, say ServiceNow, FieldPoint, Salesforce, ConnectWise. Work orders get to the platform through mass upload. So remember that 87 site project we just looked at in MarketSmart Insights? We're going to have the ability to upload that spreadsheet into the platform to create all of those work orders with just a few clicks of the mouse. Or, of course, it can be done manually. If we do this manually, there are efficiency tools built into the platform. For example, we can choose a template. A template is going to help us be efficient, accurate, as well as consistent, making us be the buyer of choice because our work orders start to look the same across multiple types of work. This template is going to pre-populate all of those redundant details, leaving only the variables so that, again, we can efficiently, quickly create that work. Next, we're going to take a look at matching the provider to the work. We're going to tell them what type of work this is, what they're going to be doing on site, What are they going to be dealing with when they get there? What are they going to need to have with them when they get there? What tools are they going to need to have in their toolbox? What licenses and or certifications? We keep the private stuff private, Field Nation. Only the assigned provider will be able to see the exact address as to where the work is to take place. The requesting providers are going to be able to see a dot on a map in the center of the zip code, not the specific address. We have multiple scheduling options to choose from arrive at a specific date and time to a window of time or any time to get that work completed. Contacts are like that of the locations. Only the assigned provider gets to see the work order contacts. We cannot have these requesting providers reaching out to your end clients and saying, hey, I'm ready. Now, the service description, this is where you are going to tell the providers what is your scope of work. Aside from what dress code is required, what is going to be required of them on site when they get there. The list of items. This is part of that legal and binding contract between you and the provider. We also keep the private stuff private here as well because the platform allows for redaction of certain items. If the assigned provider is going to need to get a hold of Dave at this particular phone number, we don't want that information in the requesting provider's hands. So we're going to be able to redact it. So again, that only the assigned provider gets to see that information. Again, calling out what tools they're going to need when they get there. We allow for the attachment and upload of documents, manuals, schematics, custom sign-off sheets, and the like, so that they can know what they're going to do when they get there. Then we're going to give them the milestones, the deliverables, the electronic checklist of things that they are going to need to do once they arrive at the site. This is the electronic task list. These tasks include phone calls, photographs, signatures, all of those things that you are going to need to have and need to know and need to be able to produce for your end client to know that there was a successful outcome on this work order. We allow for the entering of custom data that is specific to your business. Which region of your business? What is that external ticketing number that goes with this particular work order? Also, we allow for the entry of data by the provider on site. We're going to be installing these menu boards. We are going to want to know what was the serial number of the particular menu board that was installed at this site so that we can keep track of that, submit the warranty information for our end client, give that information to our end client. Flexible payment options, which includes showing where this work order sits within our MSI price ranges, which are definitely within the standard rate area of this particular work order, as well as additional features to help automate the experience as well as further your experience. Now that we've created a work order from the platform, let's follow its path from creation to complete satisfaction. Now, once we've created the work order will reside in the flight board. This is the flight board. The flight board is the homepage, dashboard, main screen, if you will, of the platform. This is where the life cycle of a work order resides. Life cycle that's easy to understand. It's transparent as well as reportable. Is going to allow for efficient and effective management of all of your work. Now, every work order begins in the draft status. A drafted work order is a fully or partially created work order that has yet to be dispatched to the marketplace. Once a work order is ready to be deployed to the marketplace, it's done so via publishing or routing. A published work order is one that's deployed to the marketplace, made visible to the providers, at which point the providers are able to read, decide if they are qualified, interested, and available for that work order. And if so, they are going to electronically raise their hand and request that work order. Or you can, as the buyer, route that work order to a specific provider or a group of providers. A group of providers that you have built a relationship with. They are trusted, You've worked with them in the past. You're familiar with their qualities, the work that they do. So that if you route that work order to them, the first one of that group to accept the work order would be assigned. Otherwise, you're going to collect those and accumulate the requests. You're going to vet the providers and then choose which one of them gives you the best chance of a successful outcome, and you will assign the provider. Once a work order is assigned, this is the stage at which the work takes place. Providers generally execute the work orders in our native iOS and Android apps. These apps are going to allow your team real-time visibility, comfort, confidence, control, know what's going on the site. After the provider has completed all of those deliverables and milestones, checked all the boxes off on that task list, they are going to mark that work order complete. Once they have marked that work order complete, the work order will move to the done status. This is where your team will go in and review that work order. Make sure that you have everything that you need. All of the things that you're going to want for your end client are there. At which point, you go ahead and approve that work order. And this is where the provider is going to be paid for their work by Field Nation on your behalf. Now, there's a couple of other things here on the flight board that are going to help you effectively manage that work. For example, filters. I've got 185 work orders in my draft status. I'm going to probably need to isolate them to a smaller subset for effective management. Go ahead and filter them by client, by state, by project, by type of work, all sorts of different things that you can filter to make sure that you are going to only see the work orders that you want to see in that given moment. The in-flight tab. In-flight tab ultimately is those work orders that have a scheduled service date of today or tomorrow. Those that are going to be most important and require my most immediate attention. As well as this area is configured in a grid, allowing for custom columns in each of the different statuses. The different information that I'm going to want to know about a published work order as opposed to an assigned work order. You get to pre-configure those columns however you like. Now, before we can complete that life cycle, we're going to need to choose a provider that matches our needs, who has the appropriate skills to execute this work order. So here's the work order we created. It's a menu board upgrade again in Boston, and I'm showing a list of providers here. And there happens to be 673 Field Nation providers within 30 miles of this location. Now, I can see that I've got a number of folks that are in different select tech networks, network cabling installation, wireless equipment installation, cabling. Now, I've got a list of them. And remember, you are in complete control of the process. You're going to be able to choose that provider based on their skill sets, their work history, their experience, their location, their ratings, their reliability. It's transparent because remember, there are over 50,000 of them. You're going to need to know and want to know what they can do, what they've done, and how well they've done it. And all that information is right. You also have the ability to curate those technicians into managed groups for long-term successful relationships. Use consistent resources, just as you would with your W-2s without the overhead. Now, why is this list showing up the way that it is? Well, it's showing up in the way that it is because of this particular ranking rule or selection rule. You are going to be able to create your own selection rule, include both required criteria as well as optional criteria. We give you a default ranking rule to start with, get you started if you understand the process. And what is a ranking rule? It is a blend of the provider's experience, behavior on the platform, as well as some trait criteria, again, that you can in fact configure. Now, the providers are going to show up with their scores ranked in descending order. All right, so we start with a provider who's got a very high score, and his match, Caesars matches Daniels. What else do we have about these providers? Well, we give you badging. B for background check, drug screen. P plus is a work safe, work smart program. They compete on the platform. Talent pools, a business provider. They've got more than a social security number on the platform. They have an EIN. Let's take a look at their work history. He's completed 1,525 jobs on the platform, 61 of them in the pro AV digital signage space at an average of $66 an hour. It's 28 miles from the job. Assignment completion, I just shortened that up to be able to get more on the screen, but completed 98.6% of his assignments over the last 90 days. He's on time. His last active today, his next work order is next week. That's great information to know about this provider. We offer you a side drawer. Side drawer is going to give you all of that information just much more quickly. The ability to add notes, whether those are work order notes or profile notes. And these notes are seen by only your team in your account. Regardless if this provider has worked for others, they may have their own notes, but you're only going to see yours. Other buyers are only going to see theirs. Now that we've seen that information, each provider has a profile page, the resume. They get a chance to tell us about themselves. Take a look at their work summary, skills that they have, types of work that they've done, equipment they have, any license and certifications, employment history, as well as education. And some of the differentiators here, if we take a look at their reliability over the past 180 days, and it only goes to 180 days because that's just how long the feature has been in play. Caesar has completed 124 of 125 assignments. He called in sick once over the last 6 months. That's pretty good. He's been on time every time. We can see his all-time ratings. There's 1,019 of them. Been rated as a 5-star technician 977 times and a 4-star technician of only 42. I can tell you, I've looked at a lot of profiles. This is one of the very few that there is nothing below a 4-star. Now, remember we talked about that work history. We know that he's done 61 jobs in the Pro AV digital signage space. Well, we can filter and get a little bit more information about that particular work. And so this happens to be a work order that contains work for a digital menu board. Let's take a look at, are there any more pieces of information we can get on that? Well, look, as a matter of fact, Caesar has successfully accomplished 7 work orders that specifically call out digital menu boards. This sounds like a technician that I'm interested in. I think I might give Caesar a call and see if he's interested, make sure that he's interested and he sounds like a good fit for us to get this work order executed. Understand there are many other advanced features and further automation available. To see them, reach out, let us know that you'd like to see more in greater detail. Claire, I know we have a second poll that we wanted to throw out there.
Yes, that has been launched right now.
All right, thank you, Claire. So we should have a couple minutes left here for some for a quick Q&A. Whenever you're ready, I see that I see that there are a couple in there. We've got it in a chat, so fire away.
Well, thank you, Ted. That was a really helpful overview. One of the questions that came in from the audience was, how does Field Nation help to make sure the technicians behave professionally and properly while on site?
It's a great question, and one we hear often, of course, because you're sending someone to a site to represent your organization that you've never met. Field Nation has a very robust, what is called a PQAP, the PQAP, Provider Quality Assurance Plan. Every provider must sign this. This calls out things that they must do, and if they do break the rules, there are consequences ranging from suspension all the way to deactivation from the platform, depending upon the severity of the infraction. Also note, at the same time, there's something brand new to the platform that is called the BQAP, the Buyer Quality Assurance Policy. We want to make sure that the buyers on the platform are also treating our providers with the respect that they deserve as well, making sure that you're interacting with them properly, making quality work orders so that they can, in fact, achieve that success on the platform.
Really appreciate that we have it on both ends of the spectrum there.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Another question that came through is, how does insurance work on the platform? Who is responsible for carrying it?
Another great question, another one we hear often. The most important piece to know about the insurance part of the equation here is this is number one, is you, the buyer, are covered. And the providers are required to carry insurance on the platform. However, if they do not, Field Nation has that, and the provider purchases it per work order from Field Nation. So that know on every work order, whether or not that provider has their own individual insurance policy, you are covered by Field Nation and or that provider.
That is great. I think we'll do one more question here.
Okay.
Easy one. How do you get started on the platform?
Well, thanks for curiosity. Here are a couple of links to help you get started on the platform. Reach out to us at fieldnation.com connect or discover.fieldnation.com/on-demand. Thank you all very much for your time. I appreciated being here as your host. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you with even more specific questions. I'll be sure to get them answered and get back to you as quickly as we can. Thank you and have a great day. And again, much appreciated for you joining us.